हेलो। हाँ, हाँ, हाँ। Good evening, everybody. Let me know if my voice is clear. Just message if my voice is clear and you can hear me and see the presentation. Ishan, is my voice clear? And you can hear me and see the presentation. Good evening, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here today on the page of Karwan Heritage Explorations. And I think Ishan is doing a wonderful job of collecting so many resources for everybody uh, on our heritage and on so many subjects, which he has got all the experts to come and talk to you on his platform, and they are going to be a valuable resource for all of us. And thank you, Ishan, for inviting me, and all the best to Karwan Heritage Explorations. So today I have come to talk on one of my favorite subjects. Of course, Shahjahanabad, as I always say, is the city of my heart. But in Shahjahanabad, the heart of Shahjahanabad hides a secret. And this is one of the most beautiful and most spiritual secrets of Shahjahanabad. It's Jain temples. As you can see from the slide, the beauty of the Jain temples has to be seen to be believed. They are in all over Shahjahanabad, of course, all over Delhi. But I will be talking specifically about Shahjahanabad. And I discovered this thanks to my book. When I was writing my book, I went exploring, and that's when I found such gorgeousness. Now, the city of Delhi has a very rich history of Jainism, and the Jain community made it their home right from the beginning of the time when Delhi was populated and settled. And in Mehroli, you have the Dadabari temple, which was the subject of research in my first book. And there are Digambar Jain and Shwetambar Jain. Both temples are beautifully represented in Delhi, the entire city of Delhi, all the cities. Now, before I go further, just because I was researching on this, so just a little bit of information I'd like to share with you. That the word Jain comes from Jina, Jina, one who has conquered temporal and material existence through self-discipline and attained a transcendent and external state of bliss, and is venerated, especially one who is venerated as a Tirthankar. Now, the word can also be called, I'm quoting from Mr. Balbhadra Jain's book on Jainism, and his book I found very resourceful when I was researching for my own book. He says this can be called an Atma Dharma also, because it is the soul that is the central part of it. of the religion, and from the word Jin, he says, comes the word Jainism. So Jin Dharma or Jainism was first used in post-Vedic literature. Again, I'm quoting from Mr. Balbhadra Jain's book. Probably that is when people started calling this religion by the name of Jainism. In the past, in the ancient literature, it was called Vrat because the people kept fasts or vows, Vrat. Shraman, one who labors and indulges in austerities, or Arhat. And of course, the Tirthankars were the people who had reached that level of spirituality. There are 24 Tirthankars. A Tirthankar is the word Tirthankar means a tirth, which is a fordable passage across the sea of interminable births and deaths, the sansar. According to Jains, the Tirthankar is an individual who has conquered the sansar, the cycle of death and rebirth on their own, and have made a path for others to follow. I have been all over India and seen the Jain temples, and I have found that not only that the temples are beautiful, but the followers are very friendly, very wonderful people, and I've had very long conversations with some of them on religion, on spirituality. The first Tirthankar is Rishabhnath, also known as Adinath, and he is the first of the 24 teachers in the present half cycle of time in Jain cosmology, and called a ford maker because his teaching helped one to cross the sea of interminable births and deaths. Now to come on to the first Jain temple, the oldest Jain temple of Delhi. Now this temple, the Sri Digambar Jain Lal Mandir as it is known today, is the oldest and the best known Jain temple in Delhi. It is directly across the Red Fort at the beginning of the Chandni Chowk area. Its red shikhars or steeples can be seen from afar, and it is a must visit. But when you want to visit it, please remember that at the timings, it is closed at 11:30 in the morning and then opens in the 6 p.m. in the evening, and then I think by 8 it closes again. So whenever you go, make sure that you go before 11:30 in the morning. There is a beautiful marble manstam pillar at the entrance. The ground floor has administrative offices, and the main temple is on the upper floor. Now, whenever I went, because I was going to put these photographs in my book and I was researching it, I would first go to the administrative office, take permission for the photography, and then go in. And as I said, I found them very affable, very cordial. In the morning, it is full of devotees who come to seek the blessings of before heading for work. There are many shrines or Vedis. Vedi is an altar in the top floor with the idol of Lord Mahavir in the central Vedi. The old idol of Tirthankar Parashnath is kept in the side chamber. It is very beautifully built and minted all the Jain mandirs. Now the story, the history, I should not say the story, the history of this Jain mandir is that when Emperor Shah Jahan built the Qilai Mubarak, he also invited several Agarwal Jain merchants to come and settle in the city and granted them place in the city. In his army, there were some Jain soldiers. Now, one of the Jain soldiers kept an idol of Lord Tirthankar in his tent, which was opposite the fort's Lahori gate. Even today, it is opposite the fort's Lahori gate. This idol dates back to 1491 AD, and all the Jain soldiers would come to worship it. This idol was kept in a small tent, and because it was a temple belonging to the army camp, it was also called Urdu Mandir. Now, this area was the Urdu Bazaar, and so it became the Urdu Mandir or the Urdu Camp Mandir, and even was called Lashkari Mandir or the Army Temple. Now this is the original idol of and they were installed by Jivraj Papriwal under the supervision of in 14 for the in the temple. The main idol is of Tirthankar Parashvanath. This one over here. Let me, yes. Can you see this? This is the main and the oldest idol, which is from 1491. As I said that Delhi, this was the Urdu Bazaar, and the area was called, the language was called Zamane Urdu-e Molla, from which the word Urdu came, and then now we started calling the language Urdu. Now there are very interesting legends attached to this temple. This is the main Vedi, the main central Vedi, as you can see in the morning, and again beautifully painted, beautifully decorated. The entire story of the scriptures are on the walls. Now there is a story which has been given by Maulvi Bashiruddin Ahmad as well as Balbhadra Jain. It's, as I said, it's a story that once Aurangzeb gave orders that no nakara or no drums should be beaten here, and then he found that the drums were not stopping, so he came to check himself, and he found that there was no person present, but that the drums were still beating on and were still being was still playing, and then he said okay, and he gave permission for the drums to be played over here. Now, as I said, this is a popular legend and mentioned by both Maulvi Bashiruddin Ahmad and Balbhadra. Now the new Shikhar was built, this Shikhar was built in the 1880s, and the three idols are kept inside. Now another very popular thing about this is the ceiling, and this is the most gorgeous part of this temple. You can see this is all called the ceiling. This is all called Munabbatkari, which we will talk about later. Now another very interesting part of this temple is the bird hospital that is attached to it. It's a very, very popular and a very famous bird hospital. There are 8 Vedis in this temple at the moment. Vedis are the sacrificial altars. Now this is the Digambar Jain Naya Mandir. Since you already had an old mandir, so now this is the Naya Mandir, built in, it was readied in 1807. Again, it's a very beautiful temple. Now, when one walks around in Dharampura and Kucha Seth, one can see and understand the importance as traders, merchants, and most importantly, bankers and money lenders of the Jain community. The later Mughals were often in their debt. The Jains also enjoyed high positions in the court as treasurers. One such treasurer was Raja Harsukh Rai, who was the treasurer of Emperor Akbar Shah II. His father, Lala Hukumat Rai, had been invited to shift from Hisar to Delhi by Emperor Shah Alam. Harsukh Rai was appointed the imperial treasurer by Shah Alam II and later given the title of Raja. He obtained permission to build a shikhar on the temple. So this is the first Jain temple in which a shikhar was built. So one enters through a small painted doorway into the narrow passage and then comes out into the main area. A flight of steps on the immediate right take you to an exquisite carved stone porch that must have once been the main entrance. It is kept locked today and one has to walk down the passage to enter from the back. But don't miss out on this porch because the torna here, this torna is breathtaking. It is a marvelous adaptation of wooden tornas that were used extensively and are now have been translated into stone. The ingenuity of this torna, when you go close and you see it, it's just mind blowing. As James Ferguson, who wrote on architecture, he says it was left for a Jain architect at the end of the 18th or the beginning of the 19th century in the Mohammedan city of Delhi to suggest a mode by which what was only conventionally beautiful might become an appropriate and really constructive part of Lithic architecture. The back of the strut is filled with pierced foliated, you can see this, foliated tracery. Once you go back, you can climb up the stairs into the main temple on the first floor. There are galleries on the three sides, and the main shrine is on a raised plinth. The sanctum is breathtaking in its richly decorated walls, arches, and ceiling. The tiered and raised marble platform with inlay work is a piece of art. On it, under the canopy, was a 17th century idol of Lord Adinath, but made of Makrana marble. But according to Balbhadra Jain, that original idol became Khandit and has been replaced. Now you can imagine the beauty of this temple, that in 1807, when it was built, it cost 8 lakhs. The Vedi itself cost 1.2 lakh. I'll show you the Vedi now. This is the Vedi. Now the work that is here, this work, you will have seen it in the Red Fort, you will have seen it in the Taj Mahal. This is called Parchinkari or Pachikari. That's the Persian word for it. Otherwise it's called inlay work and sometimes also called Pyatiyadura. Now Parchinkari is a method of inlaying colored marble or semi-precious stones into a stone base, often in geometric or flower patterns. The inspiration for the craft is the beautiful work done in Taj Mahal and the tomb of Etmadud-Dawla. The art of marble inlay or Parchinkari was introduced in India in the 17th century by Shah Jahan, who envisioned the decoration of Taj Mahal using this unique decorative art. Before that, of course, it was also used in Etmadud-Dawla. The inlay is so fine that the inlaid pattern seem to have grown out of marble, hence it's hardly possible to detect the incisions. So as you can see, this has been used Parchinkari to the maximum, this Vedi. And it was built at a cost of 1.25 lakhs in 1807. Now you come to the roof. As I said, the ceiling of the temples are extremely, extremely beautiful. You can see the painting. And another thing which I like to tell people is that when you see the Jain temples and the beautiful Munabbat Kari and the Parchinkari here, you realize what the Red Fort must have really been like. Because the Red Fort was decorated with Munabbat Kari and Parchinkari. You see one arch of over here and you realize, as you can see, all this is Munabbat Kari. Now Munabbat Kari means embossing on plaster. So first they put a plaster and then on the plaster they do the designs. So these are all the side Vedis. Now the next mandir that I'm going to take you to is the Panchayati Mandir. It's called Panchayati Mandir, Masjid Khajur, Gali Hanuman Prasad, made by Lala Ishwari Prasad in 1845 AD. Now, isn't that just beautiful? This is what Delhi is all about. For me, what Shahjahanabad, what India and what Shahjahanabad and what Delhi signify. This is the entrance. Now, the Panchayati Mandir means that it was not made by a single person, but the entire Jain Panchayat would have got together and spent money on this. This is not much information. I couldn't get much information on this. Maulvi Zafar Hasan describes it as a Jain temple in Mohalla Khajur Ki Masjid, which is the area where the Panchayati Jain Mandir is located. According to him, an officer in the commissariat department of Muhammad Shah named Ayamal made his house into a mandir. It is beautifully decorated and has many idols in it. And this is a very unique temple, because most of the Jain temples have their shrines and the Vedis on an upper level. This is one of the few temples in which the shrine is on the first floor itself. So you can see first is the roof, painted roof, and then the Vedi. I think if I now this the main Vedi here is the main Tirthankar here is Lord Parashnath, who was the 23rd Tirthankar. Then you have Vedis on the sides with the other Tirthankars, all are kept in the altars. And this is the ceiling of the main Vedi. These are the side altars. You can see again beautifully painted, carved. All these are golden idols kept around it over here, and the whole back is painted. Now we come to another Jain Mandir, also in the same area of Masjid Khajur Gali Hanuman Prasad. And this is called Sri Digambar Jain Meru Mandir. Now, Meru is a concept. Mount Meru was also recognized as Sumeru or Mahameru, is the sacred five-peaked mountain of Hindu, Jain and Buddhist cosmology, and is considered to be the center of all physical, metaphysical and spiritual universes. Many famous Buddhist and similar Jain as well as Hindu temples have been built as symbolic representations of this mountain. So this is the Meru Mandir. And inside that, we'll just go there and you will see the representations. This was built by now just don't miss the first, you can see the Munabbat Kari on these arches. And whenever you go to any Mughal monument and you see faded arches, remember this is what it would have been like. The Jain mandirs have been so beautifully maintained that they are all in pristine condition. Now Lala Meherchand built this double-story temple in 1845. It is a visual depiction of the Nandeshwara Dweep, the 8th island in Jain cosmology. The temple is entered via a beautiful carved sandstone doorway with painted wooden doors. The main shrine is on the first floor and is profusely decorated with paintings on the wall and ceilings. This is one of the columns. Again, these are the Vedis and the representation. Now this is the Prachin Digambar Jain Mandir just next to the Delhi Darwaza. As we walk towards Delhi Darwaza and Daryaganj, we come to the Prachin Jain Mandir. This is an extremely popular mandir and belongs to the Sri Digambar Jain sect. I have always seen it very crowded with devotees whenever I have gone. Lala Ishwari Prasad, a treasurer in the reign of Emperor Akbar Shah II, built it. Maulvi Zafar Hassan writes that the date on the oldest image in the temple is 1830, so it must have been built around that time. There are images of 24 Tirthankars within its walls. As one enters the main hall, there are three images. The black image is of Tirthankar Neminath, and the other two are of Tirthankar Adinath and Saptarishi. A room to the side of the main hall has a gorgeous, as I said, whenever I have gone, there have always been a lot of people here. A room to the right of the main hall has a gorgeous painted ceiling. The interiors of the temple are profusely painted in gold, and outside walls and arches of the rooms have creeper and flower designs in pastel colors. The roof is very so. I read this somewhere, and I think that's very true, that Jains are very ascetic in their lifestyle. So the entire they splurge on their temples. So you see a lot of gold and silver and beautiful colors inside the temples. Now see this ceiling. This was the first Jain temple that I visited, and this was the first ceiling that I saw and saw its beauty, and I was awestruck by it. These are the various Vedis on the side, and I said they have the story of the entire story of the cosmology, the Jain scriptures. They're all painted on the walls. Now I climbed up, and when I climbed up, I found these small domes and the main dome. And if you see this dome and you see the dome of Jama Masjid, there's no difference. Of course, in size, but I'm talking of the design. You have the same upturned lotus and the same kalash. Now we come to the next mandir, which is the Sri Digambar Jain Bada Mandir. Now this temple was built between 1828 and 1834 by Indra Rajji, who lived in Kucha Seth. The main image here is of Tirthankar Adinathji in black marble on a tiered platform of marble with elegant marble screens and gold painted decoration on the base. But before I take you there, I'll take you to another place. When I went to the Bada Jain Mandir and I asked for permission to take photographs, I was told that I have to go to the main pujari. So I asked where he lived, and then I went into the lanes of Shah Jahanabad, and I came into this house, which he says this whole this house is made of red sandstone, and he said this dates back to the 17th and 18th century. And he was sitting there inside, and he gave me, again, very sweet, very cordial. All this is also red sandstone, it's been painted. And he gave me permission to take photographs and sent somebody with me. Then I came back, and this is the courtyard of the temple. Now, as I said, all these temples are living, breathing places of spirituality and belief and faith. So whenever I have gone, I've tried to take the photographs of the people there so that you can get the soul of a temple. I have been very careful not to invade on anybody's privacy. Now this is the main Vedi and Lord Adinath over here. Again, you can see the Munabbat Kari and the Parchin Kari. These are beautiful canopies which of embroidered cloth, velvet. Now you can see the golden decoration on the marble here. You can see the beautiful decoration on the fences, the railings here. Ishan and I tried very hard to be able to do it as a slideshow, but it just didn't work. So maybe someday I will be able to understand the slideshow, but till then I just wanted to show it to you like this. Now we come to the Shri Digambar Jain Chhota Mandir. Now again this was made in 1840 and it is in Kucha Seth. Lala Ishwari Prasad, who was the treasurer in the Mughal court, helped build this temple in 1840 along with members of the Jain Panchayat. One enters through a flight of steps into a richly ornamented temple. As with all Jain temples, the painted ceilings are a visual delight. This has 6 Vedis. It is a beautiful temple with 24 images of the Tirthankars in the sanctum behind buff-colored sandstone arches. It has a domed roof with exquisite paintings and 2 side rooms that are also profusely decorated. Now here is the ceiling, which you can see, the chandeliers, and the ceiling also, all this is painted with icons. So Jain temples are full of iconography. These are the side Vedis. And this is the ceiling. Now here there is even mosaic, glass mosaic over here. All the 24 Tirthankars are present in various Vedis over here. And this is again a representation. Now these were the Digambar Jain Mandirs. I'll take you now to the Shwetambar Jain Mandir. Now the difference between the Shwetambar and the Digambar are, they both agree on the fundamental Jain principles and the 5 vows in Jainism. However, they have different views when it comes to scriptures, liberation dress and the birth of Mahavir. The Digambar means sky clad and Shwetambar means white clad. So the Shwetambar priest will always be dressed in white. Now this is the Shwetambar Jain Mandir in Naughara. Now Naughara is a small area inside Dariba Kala, where you can enter. When you go in to the lane, you have 9 houses there. Naughar, literally Naughar. That's why it's called Naughara. So, and this is at the end of the lane, and these are the houses of people there. Now they of the Jains only, were the Jain merchants there. One has an antique clock shop there, and beautiful doorways and entrances and porches out there. So you must go and see this. It's also a nice respite from the busy and the chaotic traffic of Dariba Kala. Now, when I went in there, the Panditji was I think a festival was about to take place, and the Panditji was sitting and smearing sandal on the main idol. And I talked to him, and he sat and he explained everything to me. And I found it so beautiful that today, when we go to a dargah, also in many dargahs, when there is an urs, the shrine is covered with sandal. So the syncretism is what fascinates me. Now this Vedi is of Sumatinath, the Tirthankar Sumatinath. I will reduce the size a bit so that you can see it. My images are very heavy, and that is why I think it. I wasn't able to load it onto PowerPoint, onto slideshow. This is Tirthankar Parashnath, and the snake hood over here can be seen. These are all the side Vedis. As you can see, I'm trying to take a photograph here, and I got caught in the camera. This is again, this is on the first floor. You can see the paintings and the embossing here. And this kind, when you go to a temple like this, it also gives you an idea of what the Havelis would have looked like in Shah Jahanabad in the 17th and 18th centuries. Now this is the Satghara Shwetambar Jain Mandir in Kinari Bazar, late 18th century. Now, of course, there are a lot of myths regarding this temple, and the Pujari ji told me that this goes back to the Mahabharata. And he traces the history of this temple to the Pandavas of Mahabharata. However, this building at the moment has been built in the late 18th century. The devotional area is on the first floor, reached by marble steps, and it's an assault on your senses once you reach there. Now this is a depiction of the cosmology. There's a museum in this on the ground floor which has rare manuscripts, embroideries in gold thread, and objects of pure silver. And interestingly, this was restored in 2010 by an artist from Rajasthan called Zainul Khan, the temple. I am, as I said, awestruck by the beauty of these temples. Now, if you would like me to go back to any particular photograph, I can do that. So you can just message me. I have the screen open in front of me. If you message me, otherwise I will close the slideshow and we can do a question and answer or a conversation. Just let me know now what you want. Ishan, just message over here so that I can read that. Should I go back to any of the paintings? Any of the photographs? Okay, so in that case, I will now end the slideshow and we can just chat. And one more thing, the Naya Jain Mandir. Ashok Mathur has just come, and his friend gave me a very interesting reason why Naya Jain Mandir does not have electricity, and that is why it is one of the few temples that does not open in the evening. And he said that that is because they did not want the moths and the patangas and the insects getting killed by the electricity, because the patangas get attracted to that. So the Naya Jain Mandir does not have electricity. And I will just come back once more to the Naya Jain Mandir and then we'll go back. So as I said, I'm ending the video now and we'll proceed for the conversation.